guys, how's it going? Making some hay here today. First cutting alfalfa. My pap mowed it down yesterday and tedded it out. We got the 870 here, hooked to the hay rake, and we're gonna get raking. Keep having this one wheel here get caught on this chain. I have nothing to tie that chain up. It's too long there for some reason, and it just keeps getting caught on the teeth. But other than that, it seems to be raking up pretty good. It's definitely still green down and under there, but since it was tedded out, the stuff on top is it's pretty dry. So once Dad can get baling here, should be in pretty good shape, I think. Air conditioning works pretty good in this tractor. Once you get going, there's a good air going. It feels pretty good. got the raking done. Brought the rake back to the farm here. My pap had loaded up a load of hay and brought it up the road. So we're down to one skid loader still. We're using the loader tractor, the 125, and just loading them and bringing them up that way. And we're unloading them up there on the hill. We're gonna inline wrap them. Hey guys, how's it going? It is now Friday, the 31st of May here. This evening after milking, we got the Kraus 18-foot disc hooked up with the Brilliant Call Packer. Gotta do some discing here. We have it hooked up to the 2294. Just going through and checking things over. I noticed a couple of these hoses are starting to get bad. But just the main things, tires, and then check all the bearings. Make sure everything's tight. Get through and grease it. It has grease fittings here where the wings fold down, and then where each bearing is on each gang of the disc, it's got grease fittings too. And then the wheels actually have grease fittings for the bearings. So the one thing nice about this Kraus is everything's greasable, so it should last a lot longer and hold up better. I'm using my Lumax electric grease gun here with the lock and lube end on it here. This thing works really nice. I need to get a shorter one of these. Sometimes this longer one here is not as nice for getting into places, but they sure beat a standard grease gun end. A lot of times with your standard grease gun end, it'll push grease out around, and sometimes some things they don't want to take grease with the standard end, but with that lock and lube end, you'll get them to take grease, which is nice, and it saves a lot of time too. Need to also get a second battery for this grease gun. That one battery don't last too terrible long, but haven't had any problem with it yet. The only problem I did have was the hose was must have had something inside of it. Couldn't get it out, and it kept pushing the grease out around this here relief valve. So I had to get a new hose for it, which that's not too big of a deal, but it's been working fine since. Made her up here on the hill now. We're gonna get her unfolded. We're disking on top of the hill here at the home place, so it'll be right behind the barn and the shed and stuff down there. Right up on top. It's a flatter piece of ground. Normally we no-till this, but I think last year we no-tilled it, didn't do very good. And there's some ruts from hauling the ore in this field, and we just thought it would do better if we tore it up. So that's what we're doing. We're disking it. We're not chisel plowing it or nothing. We're just going over with the disc and getting things tore up and leveled out good. We'll have to go over it again, and I'll set the disc a little shallower that time. Right now it's going pretty deep, getting them weeds cut up. We're disking right along a new piece of alfalfa, so what you see right here is oats, and then down in there should be some alfalfa coming to be getting harvested here later on. Usually between second and third cuttings when we take it off, I believe. Seems to be working up pretty nice. It's definitely tell it's wet. The tractor's doing plenty of spinning, but You just gotta get it tore up, that way you can get air to it and dry it out. Dandelions are pretty bad up here. We'll eventually have to spray this too after we get corn planted, but not right now. We actually have alfalfa on both sides of us, new seeding. So on the lower part, this top of the hill here, this is actually an individual strip. It's the offsets of this upper piece here. There stands a deer. I don't know if the camera can pick it out or not. Probably has spawns in there somewhere. But we got alfalfa growing here as well on the offsets. This piece here is a little steeper. It's not as flat as what the top of the hill here is. So cut back on some of the acres here that will be in corn. There's a field down over the other side that we're going to be putting back in the corn that was previously in alfalfa, and the alfalfa is getting pretty bad. Getting plenty of weeds in there, and when that happens, you just gotta reseed new alfalfa in another field and plant corn in that field. Then later on, it'll get put back in alfalfa. Called crop rotation. You gotta rotate your crops, because if not, the soil won't be getting the nutrients that it needs. The alfalfa puts nutrients back in the soil. It's kind of what you would do if you're a crop farmer. You would switch between soybeans and corn, but we don't grow any soybeans, so we switch between alfalfa and corn. Down there is the home place there. This is actually the first tillage we have done so far this year as far as thising goes. Last week I chiseled the flat down there, and then my pap had finished chiseling it the next day. I believe that was in the last video. But it's finally been kind of dry enough to actually do some tillage. It's not necessarily dry as we'd like, but we gotta start somewhere. It's getting pretty late in the year, so this field here, it's not too wet. We got some fields that got water laying in. It's gotta be a little while until we can get in them, so pretty much get what we can done in the dry fields, and when hopefully the wetter fields dry out and we can get them worked up and get corn planted. Normally by now we'd have a bunch of corn in the ground, but we only have, I think, around 20, maybe 20 acres or a little more than that. My pap had planted here this past week, and that was all no-till ground. So yeah, it was hilly ground, so it was easily drained off, and didn't have to worry about it being too wet. It was, I think it's pretty much perfect conditions as far as what you want for planting. As you can see, we got some clumps here that we'll get taken care of. The next time we go back through, we'll have to disc this up the first time here, let it dry out a little bit, and then we can come back through and not go in quite as deep and kind of go faster, and it breaks those clumps up a little more and levels the field out nice. something about working at home that makes working in the fields hit a little different. I don't know, it's just definitely a different feeling whenever you're over here like this, away doing field work somewhere. Got the whole field done once. I'm actually going over it a second time, going around the opposite way that I did it first, and I'm kind of not following the same tracks. I'm kind of over this way a little bit on my first pass, so the edge of the disc hits where about the middle of the disc would be, because you can see it'll let like a little ridge there, and if you overlap, kind of like it'll smooth it up. Right now I'm running third and 2. We're going pretty fast, trying to get things leveled out and smoothed up, and it looks like it's doing a pretty good job, I think. I'd say it's about time for some lights. Makes a big difference. Those lights that we got mounted on the fenders back there, have them working now, and they make a big difference. You got light down lower now. Before, most of the light was towards the back there from the lights on top of the cab, but those are there, throw off a pretty decent amount of light.